question. Member from Newmarket, Aurora.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my question is to the Premier. Speaker, I believe we're getting closer to the reason why the Premier and his Cabinet want the Ornge air ambulance scandal suppressed. This weekend, I just happened to come across a document prepared for Management Board of Cabinet by the Emergency Health Services branch of the Ministry of Health, dated October 15, 2004. That document, Speaker, could not be more clear. Someone at a very high level was manipulating the Mazza scheme through the Cabinet approvals process against the advice and warnings of senior civil servants. According to the Cabinet document, there were too many risks, and the supporting arguments in favour of the Mazza scheme were highly questionable. I'd like to ask the Premier this. Why did he and his Cabinet sell out Ontario's air ambulance service to Dr. Mazza for $1 against the advice of senior civil servants in the Ministry of Health and in the Ministry of the Attorney General?
Thank you, Premier.
Speaker, the Minister of Community and Social Services.
Always nice to be popular, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I find it a little passing strange that the member would stand up and say that we were somehow suppressing individuals looking into Ornge. The Public Accounts Committee, Mr. Speaker, by a motion that was supported by this side of the legislature, is holding hearings into the Ornge matter. Mr. Speaker, the public hearings, they now have sat for 29 hours.
Wow.
33 witnesses have appeared. And in fact, this Wednesday, Mr. Speaker, in the morning, Tom Rothfeld's former COO of Ornge International will be appearing at 12:30. Tom Lepine, the former CEO of Ornge, will be appearing. And Mr. Speaker, I'd like to stress that they have extended the number of hours that those witnesses could come forward, as is their right as a committee of this legislature.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Speaker, I have just delivered this Cabinet document to the Premier, who didn't want anything to do with it, and so he sent it over to the House Leader. Now that the House Leader has the document, I'd like to ask him this. That document gives 15 specific reasons as to why the Mazza scheme should never have been approved. I quote from the document that was before the Premier that he just shuffled off to the House Leader, but they've all seen it when they were in Cabinet. It states the stated basis for the recommendation are insubstantial and don't provide a compelling argument. The background information is, quote, selective and insufficient. Surely someone around the Cabinet table would have seen this quote as a warning sign, and I quote, the critical issue of what the role of the ministry will be in the new regime and the degree of control that will be retained by the ministry has still not been sufficiently addressed.
Question.
End of quote. I call on the Premier to stand and answer for himself. Is this how he and his Cabinet make decisions on all matters?
Thank you.
Or what was the reason?
Government House Leader.
You know, Mr. Speaker, if the member insists on conducting hearings on the floor of the legislature, then I'd like to ask some questions, Mr. Speaker.
Peterborough, come to order.
About how it came to pass that Ornge established.
I might just give a blanket warning. Carry on.
I'd like to know, Mr. Speaker, how it came to pass that Ornge established a new satellite operation at Oshawa Municipal Airport. Because you know what we found out, Mr. Speaker, through the public accounts hearings? That an Ornge executive, a former Ornge executive, the senior aviation expert there, said he opposed the move and that it was a very poor choice for a host of reasons. That didn't stop, Mr. Speaker, the member for the Oshawa for lobbying. We've seen that snazzy photo. And, Mr. Speaker, we also have a letter here from the member for Durham, who says, I would like to briefly highlight the advantages of relocating Ornge to a base at the Oshawa Airport rather than at the Peterborough site.
Question, the member from Stoney Creek to Aurora.
Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Health. Frontline staff at the Ministry of Health, and specifically at the Emergency Health Services branch, have lost faith in their minister and in this government as they witness the intentional avoidance of the truth about why Dr. Chris Mazza had free rein to defraud the public and destroy our air ambulance system. They know, and they know that the minister knows, that shortly after the government signed the Mazza deal, the then Associate Deputy Minister of the Emergency Health Services Branch wrote to the Emergency Health Services Branch to stand down on its oversight responsibilities of Ornge. I asked the minister, why was that letter sent from the Associate Deputy Minister of Health actually asking the Emergency Health Services Branch not to oversee Ornge?
Minister of Health.
Speaker, what's important to me is that Ornge get back on track. We have new leadership in place, a new board, new administration, Speaker. And I think it's important we actually acknowledge EMS Week, Speaker. Last week was EMS Week, and the frontline paramedics deserve a big thank you from this House, Speaker, for the work they do on behalf of Ontarians every single day. It is vitally important to me that people can count on those emergency services, and that's why we have introduced legislation, Speaker, on top of other steps we have taken, that we are very hopeful the member opposite will support. Bill 50, Speaker, is a bill specifically designed to strengthen oversight and transparency at Ornge, and I look forward to his blocking passage of this bill and actually supporting it.
Thank you.
Speaker, why is it that everyone at the Ministry of Health knows what's going on except the minister? The reason that Dr. Mazza and his band of thieves were able to defraud Ontario taxpayers and compromise our air ambulance service is because, as the Auditor General said in his report, there was a lack of oversight on the part of the Ministry of Health. Now we know that that lack of oversight was intentional on the part of the Ministry of Health. It was not because of a faulty performance agreement or any of the other excuses that the minister has spun for the last number of months. It was because Hugh MacLeod, the then Associate Deputy Minister of Health, directed in writing the very department of the ministry that had those oversight responsibilities to stand down and leave Ornge alone. I want to know from the minister this. Why has she kept this information secret? Why has she not disclosed that critical information, knowing that she knew about that letter? This minister...
Thank you. Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Minister of Health.
Speaker, I understand the member opposite has his job to do, Speaker, but my job is to make sure that people of this province get access to excellent health care, and that includes emergency care when they need that, Speaker. So we have made big strides. The member opposite has actually described them as aggressive steps to actually enhance oversight and transparency, improve patient safety at Ornge. Under the new performance agreement, Speaker, there will be a new patient advocate. There will be a publicly posted complaints process. We're initiating annual public surveys on performance.
The member from Prince Edward Hastings is warned. Minister.
We're improving the reporting of emergency dispatch information, Speaker, because we are now including cancelled calls, declined air and land ambulance calls. We're creating quality improvement committees, Speaker, so just like our hospitals, we will be publicly reporting quality improvement plans. Speaker, we also have given ourselves, under the new performance agreement, the ability to have surprise audits, unannounced inspections. We're linking executive compensation to public performance. We're tying Ontario's funding to key performance indicators. We're giving the government control over Ornge's assets. Thank you, Speaker.
No question.